at SAP HANA, so HANA is a high performance analytical appliance. Let me go with the diagram. Analytical appliance. So when we say high performance, the main reason of high performance is there are many things need to be discussed when we say high performance. The one of them is like in-memory technology. So when we say in-memory technology, so that in HANA, so when we look at the basic system, right? So here we have a reporting. So here we will be having a reporting, and this is a RAM, and this is the disk. So when we look at the normal technology, right? So if we take as a SAP BW or any SAP ECC system, right? So whenever we hit a query, the query goes to the disk. From disk, it comes to the RAM. From RAM, it displays for the output. Finally, displays to the output. That means, so here the entire data sits in the disk. Whenever we hit a query, the data from the disk, it sends to the RAM. From RAM, it sends to the report. Right? So once the data is displayed in the report, the data in the RAM will be removed. So RAM is a volatile memory. That means, so whenever there is a power shutdown or any natural calamities happens, entire data will be lost in the RAM. So when we look at the in-memory technology, which is of HANA, right? So here, entire data sits in the RAM itself. So here we have any reporting tool. Let's take a SAP Business Objects. So here we have a SAP HANA, or we can take it as a in-memory technology. So which is nothing but a RAM. So here whenever we run a query or a report, it directly hits to the RAM and displays for output. That means in HANA, the entire data sits in the RAM itself, so that the performance will be faster. So here, even if you look at the power, so if there is any natural calamities or any hardware failure, even in the RAM, the entire data will be lost. So here for recovering that, we have a concept called backup and recovery. So we'll be covering those concepts once we are done with the architecture. So I'll be sharing you these documents. So this gives the basic information about the SAP Also, I'll try to share a few more documents, whatever the basics to one guy, Ravi. And if you go for backup and recovery, so here we'll be looking at how to take a backup as well as a recovery. If there is any power shutdown or natural calamities happens, so how the backup and recovery will take care. So these concepts will be done by the admin guys. So we are no more responsible for taking the backup and recovery. We are in a modular or developer guy. So whatever the backup or the recovery, all these topics will be covered by the admin guy. You can see here what happens when the power goes down. So do we lose any valuable data? So we are not going to lose even a single transaction. No client would be happy if they are missing any records, right? Or transactions. So we'll be looking once the architecture is completed. We'll be taking a third class or fourth class regarding this. So this will be a part of architecture. So once the architecture is done, so you'll be looking the backup and recovery. So for each and every concept, so I just documented everything. So it's a quite simply a way to go and update that theoretically, right? The first advantage is like the in-memory technology. So when we compare to the other systems, so whenever we execute a report from disk, it goes to RAM, from RAM it goes to the report. But when we look at the SAP HANA, so whenever we hit a query, it directly hit to the in-memory technology, which is of RAM, and finally displays for output. And the second advantage is like SQL console. We'll see that. And the third one is columnar storage. Store in SAP HANA. So before going to the second one, we'll see when we look at the SAP HANA, it's a high performance analytical appliance. That means when we say appliance, it's a combination of both hardware plus software. It's a hardware plus software. Both together built in a single system. That's why we call it as an appliance. So when we say SAP HANA, right? So here, when we look, let's compare with the traditional model. So here we will be having a database, and here we'll be having an application. So when we look at the traditional system, here we'll be, let's take a SAP BW or ECC system, and the database will be MS SQL, or we'll be having a Oracle. Right? On top of that, so this is one application. So SAP BW or ECC we call as an application. So that means, and here we'll be having a reporting. Either it might be a BEX reporting, or you can go with a BO reporting. Right? This is the landscape. So here the application and databases both are different. Right? But when we look at the HANA system, both the hardware and application as well as the database, both are built in a single system. So when we see here SAP HANA, on top of that we do install SAP HANA Studio. I'll guide you how to install the Studio as well. So here in the Studio, so we are as a HANA consultant, we'll be creating the views. So one is attribute view. We'll come clear about this. And the second one is analytical view, and the third one is calculation view. right? So when we say attribute view, which represents the master data. So when we say master data in SAP BW terminology, also it's in a master data, like we can say as a customer, like VBAK, KNA1, not VBAK, sorry, KNA1, MARA, these are the master data tables, right? Like customer, material, all these together comes as a master data, right? So on top of this master data, we are going to create a attribute view. Right? So when we look at the analytical view, it's about the transaction data, or we can say in BW terminology, we call it as a cube. Okay, when we say a transaction data or a fact data table, okay, so it's nothing but a tables like VBAK, all the fact tables, VBAK, VBAP, BSEG, MSEG, all the whatever other than master data tables, we can use as a analytical view, or we can represent as a cube. And when we look at the calculation view, so it's a combination of multiple analytical views plus attribute views. That means, so here we can add all the attribute views in the calculation view plus analytical views in the, sorry, we can add in the calculation view. That means it's a combination of both attribute views plus analytical views. So we are going to add it, or in BW terminology we call as a multi-provider or info set. Multi-provider plus info set, right? So here when we look at the studio, let's get into the system as well. So you'll be getting a remote access. So once we log into the HANA system, right? So we can get all the credentials. When we go for start, all programs, and you can see here, we can log into the SAP HANA Studio. So basically this is an Eclipse based version, how we install SAP GUI, right? The same way HANA Studio also can be installed in our client desktops. Or even you can, if you want to do a practice kind of stuff, basically this will be done by the admin guys, right? So here we have a SAP HANA Studio. So if you are looking for SAP business objects, so we'll be able to use all these reporting tools. Lumira or Crystal, Webby, dashboards, analysis, Office for Excel. So all those things, Launchpad, all those things we can get it. This is basically a 4.2 version, so which is of latest version, right? And if you are looking for a BODS, business objects data services, these also will be taking 3 to 4 sessions of classes or 5 with the BODS. Also, we have a SQL server. We'll be getting data from SQL server with various scenarios. Also, we'll be using the SQL service. And if you go for SAP logon pad, so you'll be getting the 7.4 version, not 7.5. So you can have a 7.4 version. So they are charging high for me. So I'm planning to start SAP BW 7.5 on HANA. So that's why I'm using this system. So you'll be getting a 7.4 on HANA and enhancement ECC system and SLT system, which is separately maintained, and BW with database as a SQL. So these all the systems you are getting except 7.5.
Rajesh, question.
Yes.
So, will we be getting access to this training system?
Yes.
Okay.
So once the
Uh,
first 3 days we'll be having theoretically. Fourth day I'll be giving the credentials. Or if you want, if you
okay.
pay initial payment, I'll give it immediately. No problem with that.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, to log into the SAP HANA, just you can go with the start, all programs, and SAP HANA, just you can go with SAP HANA Studio. And just click on OK. So this is an Eclipse based version. This is a product of IBM. SAP took an advantage and named it as a SAP HANA Studio. So once we log in, right, let me remove this. So you'll be getting a passwords in the desktop. So you can see here the best details. So you'll be having access for all the servers, BODS and BO, SQL Server. This is a HANA ECC BW 7.4, right? So for HANA details, so we need to have the host name and the instance number. And ID and password will be same for all the servers. So here the host name is SAP VAS and instance number is 00. So when we log in, so just at the blank screen, right click on add system. So here we can define the host name. What is the host name? SAP VAS is the host name and instance number is 00. All right. So here we can define any of the system. If we are logging to the development system, so we can make it as a HANA DAO. So I'm defining as a YDD. Just click on next, and here we need to give the credentials of user ID and password. Just click on finish, so that the system will be added. Like this, you can add the development, quality, production system, or any other systems. So once we add the systems, right? So here I could see if not full screen, just you can go to the Windows.
So Rajesh,
Yeah.
this system is for database or for anything else?
This is an application, not an application. This is a Eclipse based version, like how we install SAP GUI, right? The same way we are going to install SAP GUI here, HANA Studio. So this studio, we are able to log into the remote desktop to the client workstation.
Okay, it means like it's a server for HANA.
It's not a server. It's like a SAP GUI kind of stuff. So, but whatever the application we are going to design, we are going to design here.
No, I'm talking about you just enter the value for enter for credential
Yes.
for this server
Yes.
SDB database. So what is this all about?
So when we look at SAP, right, we add the systems manually, right? Development system, a quality system. The same way we are going to add
Okay,
the
okay,
systems here.
okay, fine.
Added the system. Okay. When we
Fine,
install
thanks.
SAP Studio, we don't get these credentials. We need to get it from the admin guys, and we need to just only the host name, instance number, and ID password. So we can configure the system, right? Like same way we can development, quality, and production. We can configure our other any other systems. All right. On the left hand side, we can see the system, and we have a different folders. On the right hand side, we'll be looking system overview in the third session. So I'll be taking all these tabs, all these tabs and use of these tabs, right? When we go for a content, okay. So I'm in a latest version system that I couldn't see all. So here, these are the packages or nothing but a folders. And in these folders, so we are going to create the views, attribute views, analytical views, and the calculation views, right? When we look at the attribute views, let me take one of them. So here, whatever with the master data, like they have taken a company underscore MD. This is a customer master. Here we have a customer master data. Based on the master data, we are
Rajesh,
going to design. Yes,
should we create this only under the content folder, or any other folder can we create these views?
we can create under only the content folders. Let me show you one way. So if you take a backup, let's see if there is any power shut. It won't happen. Basically, if let's assume if there is any power shutdown or anything, so the admin guys will take the backup. So if you double click on this, or if you go for open, backup console, right? So here the admin guys will take a backup. So I'll take this session how to take a backup. So once the architecture is done, so here the admin guys will take up the backup before the data load starts. And here the catalog. When we look at the catalog, under this catalog we have a different type of schemas. So when we say a schema, we have a three type of schemas. One is user defined schema, and second one is SLT derived schemas, and the third one is system derived schemas. So this will be taken once the views session is done, at the time of views, types of joins and everything.
So, Rajesh, whatever the schema is listing there, it's a by default,
No,
or
no,
someone.
no. Here, if you see, right, we have three types of schemas. The first one is user defined schema. Just give me a second. So the first one is user defined schema. So basically, why we use a user defined schema? So whenever we want to upload any files, or whenever we want to get use for, basically we use more about uploading the files. So if you go for SQL, and we can create schema, and the schema name. So let me get it at first, so that let me give one SAMS. So here we can directly create a schema. Just whenever we click on execute, so it internally it automatically creates a folder. Let me see. So you can see here the statement create schema 1 successfully executed. Let me refresh the catalog here. You can see here 101 SAMs was successfully created. This is basically whenever you want to upload any file. So under this folder, so we have a under this schema we have a different folders.
So for every schema, these folders are predefined and created automatically.
Yes, just give me a second. There is some background noise coming. Oh, no. Sorry guys. So here for schema, so once we create a schema, under the schema, so this is basically a user defined schema. So once we create a schema, automatically all these folders will be generated. So here we have a table, right? So whenever you want to upload the table data manually through an Excel file, right? So we can also upload, sorry. So when we go for a quick view, so when we go for export, so here SAP, sorry, 1 second. Not export, we can go with the import. So we can go with the SAP HANA content. From here, if you want to import any of the file, data file, so we can import. Let me check in the desktop, which file do we have? I don't have any file here. Let me check in my desktop. An Excel file? No, right? Just quickly, let me quickly create an Excel file. So if you want to import any data, what is this Excel? So basically when we look at the SAP BW front, right, so we are going to create a data flows and everything. Okay, so here we have an Excel file, right? So with the customer, material, profit, price and amount, let's import this one. Right, so we can go with import SAP HANA content data from local file. I'll just select the system and just click on next. So here, what was the file? First we need to select the file. So from the desktop, so you can see here, this is the file. Just click on open. And here I want the header row to be ignored, the first header. So whatever the first letter will be, like header will be customer, material, those header row should be ignored. And here, what was the schema name? We need to use the schema name and the table name. If you want to upload an existing table, so we can use the upload the existing table. We can make it as a new schema. So here, if you are going to create a new table and upload to the schema one underscore SAMS, we can select as a new schema. So if you want to upload an existing table, so let's say I have already existed a table with the customer. So if you want to upload the data to the customer, we can use the existing. So here I'm taking the new one. So let me take the schema one underscore SAMS and let me take the table name. Let's take the customer. Or let me give the product and just click on next. Here the system will be automatically mapped the fields. So if you are mapping to the existing fields, we need to map one by one manually.
So how did we get Z product table, Rajesh?
So this is from the Excel file.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So we have a Excel file in the desktop, right? So where is that? Here.
So all the columns and rows are generated as tables.
Yeah. If you open this, so you can see here customer, material, product. So this is the Excel file which I am using the existing one. So if we can create an Excel file, we can upload the data to the HANA table directly.
But we don't see anything called as product here.
So I just define the table name as a product.
Okay, we can give any table
Any
name?
meaningful name.
Okay.
So here we can give any meaningful name. Let's take sales. This is basically a table name which system will automatically generate a table name here. So under the schema, one SAMS. Just click on next. So the system will be automatically mapped to the table. So here we need to define for every table there should be a primary key, right? Just define a primary key and just click on next. And here we can see the value, just how what are the values we can see it here. So once it is done, just click on finish. So here we can see importing flat file completed successfully. Whenever if you want to see the log, just double click on the log and we can see what has happened. Mapping the column list, everything was done. So here just refresh the table under SAMS. So now we are able to see the table, right? The system automatically created a table and inserted the data. Just if you want to see the data, just right click the table and just go for a click on open data preview. So we can see the data, right? Whatever the data available in the Excel, so we can see. Or if you want to see the same thing in the graphical way, so we can go with the analysis and let me take the label access. We are going to take all the characteristics and value axis we are going to take the measures. Whatever we are doing the calculation, we are going to put it in the value axis. Other than the calculations, we are going to, like characteristics or the fields, we are going to put it in the label axis. So we can see the graphical way, or if you are looking for a table format, we can go with the table, or if you're looking for a grid or HTML, so we can see the one. So if you want to view the entire raw data, just we can see the raw data here, right? So under this schema, so the user defined schema, the system will automatically create, once we create a schema, the system will automatically generate these folders. And here we can manually upload the tables, or if you're, so this is basically a schema will be created by the admin guys, even we don't have access to create a schema. Okay. So we can create a tables. We'll see tomorrow how to create a tables, and we can also not only through Excel, so we can also use the SQL to create a table. Through SQL also we can create, or we can directly also create a new table, and we can insert the records. We'll take this all later sessions, right? So this is basically user generated schema. So there are other two types of schemas. The second one is system generated schemas, right? So whenever we are creating any attribute views or analytical views or calculation views, all the system generated views will be stored under, the views will be stored under these schemas. Not only the views, whatever the time table which we have created, or procedures, whatever the objects we create, all those will be stored under system generated schemas. When we look at the system generated schemas, so all these are the system generated schemas. So underscore SYS underscore BIC, BI, repo, and Axis engine. So where we are going to connect to the any other applications, external applications, and sys. So here when we go for a schemas, at the end we can see here underscore SYS underscore BIC. Under here, so all the views, whatever the views we create, those will be stored under here. So these are the system generated schemas, which starts with underscore SYS underscore SYS. So we'll be looking more once we are at views. Okay, and the third one is SLT derived schema. So when we look at the SLT derived schema, so here let's take this as a SAP ECC system, and this as a SLT system. SLT is nothing but a one of the system, that's it. Like how we have a ECC system, BW system, like this we have a SLT system. Right. So here, so how do we get the data to the SAP HANA system? So we have a different ways to get the data from different source systems. One of them is SLT. So here first we are going to create a connection. We will be looking all these SLT connections for 3 days. If everything goes fine, we'll go with 3 days. If something is wrong, we may take 4 days. So here, whenever we are connecting to the SAP to SAP systems, SLT is also a SAP system. So we do use a RFC connection. From SLT to HANA system, we do use a DB connection. Right. So here, while configuring the SLT,
Can you tell us what is SLT?
oh sorry. So I thought I'll be covering this in the demo slide. So just okay, I'll come here already. Okay, so when we say SLT, which is of SAP landscape transformation. So when we look at the replication tools, right? So one of them is SLT. So here, when we look at SAP landscape transformation, so when we go for SLT, so we'll be able to get the live data. So if you take an SAP BW, right? So at the data, all the users will be posting the transactions. At the night, we'll be running the process chains. I mean, running the loads. So once the loads are done, only the next day user will be able to view the data, right? That means one day ahead. So we are not going to get a live data when the users are running on top of SAP BW. But when we look at the SAP HANA, right? So whenever a transaction happens in ECC system, that will be immediately updated to the SAP HANA system. So when we look at the SAP HANA, it's a combination of both OLTP plus OLAP system. So when we say OLTP system, which is of online transactional process, which is nothing but a ECC system, and OLAP is a BW system, online analytical process. I'll take this thing tomorrow. The difference between OLTP and OLAP and the evolution of SAP HANA. All right. So here by using SLT, so we'll be able to get the live data. So once the configuration is done, okay. So here, once we give the configuration name equal to schema name. So at the time of configuring SLT, right? So we go with the transaction LTR or LTRC. So we give the configuration name. That will be the schema name. Okay, let me show you in the system. So once the configuration is done, okay. So here, so we go with the data provisioning on the quick view tab. So we go with the data provisioning and select the system and just click on finish. Data provisioning is not configured. So let me open other system. So the configuration someone deleted, so we need to reconfigure it. That's it. Give me a second. Let me have some water. So here, so if you want to get back to the normal screen, right? So there are some windows minimize, and if you want to get the normal screen, just go to the windows, just click on reset perspective, click on S. So this will be the initial screen whenever we log into the HANA Studio as a modeler. So this will be the initial screen. So here, when we go for under quick view tab, when we go for a data provisioning and just select the system and just click on finish. So this is once SLT configuration is done. So here, what exactly we do is like we do replicate the tables, right? So when we see this diagram, so what we have done so far, so here we have a ECC system. Let's assume we need to get the data from SAP ECC system. How we get? So one of the replication tool is SLT, which is of SAP landscape transformation. So we have a many advantages when we go for SLT. So it is can overcome. So it's getting a live data. So whenever a transaction happens, immediately those transaction will be replicated to the HANA system, right? So it's got live data. So once the
So
config,
Rajesh,
yeah,
SLTs work for only ECC or any other traditional database?
we can connect to any traditional database.
Okay.
Okay, so here we are going to replicate the tables. So here we can see here the schema name SLT test Vinay someone has created. We will create our own fresh SLT connection. I'll show you how to configure the SLT connection, how to replicate the tables. Once we replicate, we can also post the transaction so that immediately it is reflecting or not. We'll be looking all this scenario, right? If you go for a load,
So Rajesh,
yeah,
uh, so to get only the live data, are we doing this SLT, or to get any data from SAP HANA at all, do we need to make use of this SLT?
SLT basically, if you look at the SAP HANA, so it's a combination of both OLTP plus OLAP. When we say OLTP, it's about the live data. So we are getting whenever a transaction happens, so data will be available. Also, we are going to get the OLAP. That means historical data, 5 years of 10 years of down the line data. Also, we are getting the data, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there is a limitation in OLTP system. We do store only 3 to 4 months of data. So rest of the data will be archived, right? So this EC system will be dealing with the day-to-day transactions. So I'll be taking these things in the introduction. Okay, when we go for OLTP and OLAP. So here, when we go for SLT, so we'll be able to get the live data. Almost 98% of the clients, they're going with only with the SLT.
Oh, so can we have HANA system even without SLT as well?
No, we can have other options. I'll come back. So we have a BODS and a DXE as well as a smart data access, SDA. We will come back that. So when we go for SLT, at the time of configuration, once the configuration is done, so we can get the target schema. So here only we have one. Let me check, is there any other? Okay. So here, this is the schema name. So once the configuration name is done, this is the schema name. So if you go for a catalog, and if you can see B20, where is the B? You can see here B20. So once the configuration is done, the system will automatically generate a schema, which is of SLT derived schema. Under this schema, the system you go for a tables. So these are the predefined tables. I'll take you what are these tables and their relation. These three are the system predefined tables. And if you want to replicate any of the table, let's see, I want to get the table of KN1. So I don't have authorization for this. Let me check here. So I need to grant authorization for this. So if you want to get the table of KN1, right? So we can type the KN1 and just click on execute. So that table will be displayed here. Once the table is available here, we can add the table so that the table will be available here, right? So here when we say load, it's a full load, replicate, init with the delta. So I'll take this all these options together when we go for SLT concept. So when you go for SLT, so I'll be providing you a step-by-step document for SLT, for the configuration of SLT, everything. So there are different ways to configure the SLT. So you'll be looking all the ways how to configure the SLT. Just I'll be providing a step-by-step document too for this, and we'll be going with the 3 ways, and also we'll be looking at configuring SLT for non-SAP applications. We'll be looking at SQL.
Is this typically done by the basis, or does BW team have to configure this SLT?
Yes. So it depends. Most of the RFC connection will be, most of the projects RFC connection will be created by the admin guys or basis guys, and rest of the configuration part even they may do, also we may do. It depends on the project to
Okay.
project.
All right.
Okay, so here once we configure the SLT, so the system will automatically creates a schema, so which is of SLT derived schema. So you can see here we have a 3 type of schemas. One is user defined schema, which we are going to create manually, and the second one is system derived schema. Once we create a views, all the views are stored under system derived schema. Not only views, whatever the objects we create, all the objects will be stored under system derived schema. And the third one is SLT derived schema, which we have seen now. The system will automatically generate the schema which is of SLT, right? Once the schema is generated, we are going to replicate the tables. Once tables are available, so I have a VBAK table. So once the tables are available, so we can go ahead with the content. Under these content, so we are going to create the views. Let me create one of the view. Let me take an attribute view.
So first, if I understand correctly, we are making sure the tables are present, and then we are making use of the tables to create all of these views, is it?
Yes. Okay, so where are the tables available? Under the catalog. Under that we have a schemas. So if you are getting data from a flat file, so whatever the file you have uploaded, so we can go with the file, right? So if you are getting data from BODS, is one more system, so we can get one schema. For SLT, we are getting one more schema. What is the schema name we can have here? So all these are the schema names, B2O ASLT, right? So this is one which is SLT derived schemas. Under this, we'll be having a list of tables. We need to replicate the tables here. These tables will be available. Okay. Once we replicate, those tables will be available here. You can see here the BSID table was already replicated, which is a standard ECC table. So if you want to see the data, just right click on open data preview. No authorization. I need to grant access for this. So we need to have SQL code. Okay, leave it, no problem. So we can see the data here, right? And let me take e-fashion. So here we'll be going with a basic scenario with the e-fashion. So here also we can see the shop fact, article lookup. These are the base tables. So we do have access for this. So here, first we create a package. Under this we create a sub package, and we can create the views. So when we are looking at the packages, so we'll be going with here we have a structural package and non-structural package. Under the structural package, we can create a number of non-structural package, and here we can create the views. I'll go in detail when we go for views, right? So if you want to create any view, right, so just right click the package and just click on new. Here we can see attribute view, analytical view, and the calculation view. When we say attribute view, which represents the master data, analytical view, which represents the transaction data or a info cube, like VBAK, VBAP, all these tables. And calculation views, it's a combination of both attribute views and analytical views, right? Let me quickly create one attribute view. Just select a new attribute view. So here we will be following the naming convention. I'll just share you the naming convention document. Just and making the article underscore.
Rajesh, Rajesh, the recording session is also same.
I'll be sharing the recording sessions. I'll be sharing you the materials. Everything I'll be sharing to you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So for HANA,
Uh,
I'll be,
Rajesh,
yeah.
for the schema, is it a prerequisite to create all of these views, or we can simply go ahead from the content and start creating any views that we want?
Schema, like let's say thing, if you want to get the tables from ECC, right?
Uh-huh.
So we need to configure the SLT, and we are going to replicate the tables, and on top of tables, we are going to create the views,
Okay.
right?
Oh, so but if we want to leverage just BW data like zero customer or zero material master data info object, then we can go ahead and simply create the attribute views.
Yeah, so you can use the either file upload, whatever the tables which we are getting data from file upload, or we can get that data from ECC system or SQL system or Oracle, whatever might be the system.
Mm-hmm.
Attribute view. Right, so where we are now, so we are trying to create one of the attribute view. So for creating an attribute view, so I'll show you how to create a package. This is nothing but a folder. Let me create a folder. So here right click, just click on new package. Just I'm giving as a sales. We'll go in sequence when we go for scenario, not now here. Just I'm creating one package. Just I'm giving 111 so that it should come at the first. So you can here, once we create a package, so we can need to create a sub package. It's not required now. So under right click package, just go to the new and just click on attribute view. What is this nuisance? So you can give as jet article underscore 80 stands for attribute view. So I'll be sharing you the naming convention document. Also you can follow with the naming convention document. Just click on finish. Just I have given the technical name and description. Just click on finish. So here when we look at the attribute view, we have a data foundation where we are going to add all the list of tables which we want to join. We can join 2 or more tables here, which is of master data tables. So here we can drag and drop, or we can click on add button. So either way we can do. Let me go with the schema with the e fashion for now, and let me take the article, look up master data which is of material master, just to drag and drop in the data foundation. So once we drag and drop the in the data foundation, or we can also get it from here also. Just if you click on plus symbol, so we can need to search for it manually, right? So which is the schema, which is the e fashion, and e fashion. So this is the one article lookup. Either way we can
So
do it.
can we search for zero material, zero customer, any master data info object in this?
No. So here when we replicate the data source, so that is something different. We can also get those tables. When we go for BW on HANA, we'll get it.
Okay.
So that we will be getting from HANA live content. So we are not going to replicate. So we have a HANA live. So when we go for a HANA live, So these geometrial, whatever the standard master data, those will be available by provided by SAP itself. We are not going to replicate only tables. We are going to replicate. We are not going to replicate any data source, but we have an option getting from BODS all the data sources, right? So when we go for a package SAP, and here when we go for a HANA, sorry, one second, sorry, HBA, under these, so we have a different calculation views. So here if someone was deleted, let me open in other system. So here so SAP will be predefinedly provided the views when we go for a package which is of SAP. When you go for SAP, so under HBA, you can see here ECC. Here when we go for a calculation views, so all the data sources or related tables SAP will be ready-madely provided, like same way as a business content in BW, right? Or a standard business content. So when we go for a join, so here SAP is taking with the two tables D007L and D007D. This is far advanced. So here will be SAP will be ready-madely giving a calculation views where we are going to use those things. Okay, in that it will be combination of list of data sources. We'll look at that later. Coming back to the creation of views, so once we drag and drop that table, on which one we have created, yeah, right. So when we right click, just click on new and just click on attribute view and just give the technical name and description. So this is the screen it appears, and here we just drag and drop the table which is of article lookup, right? So once we drag and drop the table in the data foundation, so here let's see, if we take a VBAK or any table, we have 100 or 150 fields, but we may require only 60 or 70 fields. So based on our requirement, we can select the list of fields, whatever which we are available. Just click on add to output, and category I need add to output, and I require a family name. So whatever the fields required, I'm just selecting those fields, and just we can go with the semantics. And here I'm defining a key for every table. There should be a primary key. So I'm making as article ID or material number with the key. So once the key is defined, right, we can validate it. Just click on validate here. So now you can see the log model validation completed with warnings. Warnings means we can ignore, no problem with that. And just we can go ahead and save and activate. Validation is to check only the inconsistency, and we need to make sure we need to save and activate. So now activation was successfully completed. Status is green. Now on top of this view, we can go ahead and preview the data, or also we can create a report on top of this attribute view or analytical view or calculation view. So if you want to see the data, just I'm placing the label axis. So if you want to see any graphs, so we can see the graph, but in the value axis we are going to keep only the measure, so we are not. And if you want to see the tables, you can see the table wise, grid wise, or raw data, right? Give me another 5 minutes, we'll wind up the session. So this is how we are going to create the views, right?
This would be just plain reporting on top of any table, right? Without any logic or anything.
Yeah, this is our plain. So you'll be looking at SQL going further, or whatever the properties on attribute views, properties on analytical views, and properties on calculation view. Just this is only a plain view which I showed you now.
Okay.
Okay. And coming back to the, we have seen attribute view, how to create an attribute view, and we'll be looking in the sessions creation of analytical views or calculation views. and where we are. So here we are as a HANA consultant or a replication tool. Our job will be getting the tables from, this is a big, we can make it as a business suite. So under that we have a ECC system, CRM or SRM. So all these systems. So we are going to replicate the tables, and top of tables we are going to create the views, right? The same way. So also we can use getting the data from the BODS, or we can get the data from the DXC, or also we can get the data from the smart data access. Not, and we can connect to the HANA system. So when we look at the BODS, it's a business objects data services. So basically these, I don't see any of the client using this BODS, but there are some scenarios. Let's see if the client is already having a BODS before implementing SAP HANA, right? Those guys would prefer to go with a BODS plus SLT. Okay, so BODS is not a live data, but when we go for a complex scenarios, then we go for a BODS. But I could see most of the clients that go with only the SLT. And the third one is DXC. So if the client is not able to bear the cost to purchase the servers for SLT and BODS, so this is a free tool which is of DXC, is a direct extractor connection, which can be used. So instead of, we don't, if the client is not able to implement SLT or BODS, they can go with the DXC. So while using DXC, there is some limitations. We can only connect to the SAP applications. So there is one limitation, we can connect only with the SAP applications. Non-SAP applications will not be supported by the DXC. We'll be looking in detail when we go for all these flavors of replication. And we have a smart data access. So this is basically which is of virtual tables. That means when we say virtual tables which do not store any data, at the runtime data will be fetched. Whenever we hit a query on top of virtual tables, so it in turn goes to the base tables and get the data and displays for output. That means virtual table, no data will be stored. At the runtime only the data will be displayed for output. Okay, so this is a new one. So from SP8 this smart data access is available. So these are the various replication technologies. We will be using all these things. So here totally with a SAP, so we have a SAP BW system, or we can get with the non-SAP systems. So when we say non-SAP, we can have a Oracle or MS SQL or POS, point of sale, or Teradata. So from all these systems, we are able to connect. Okay, so you can also use this. So but only not for, only with DXC will not be supported. DXC, it will not be supported with the DXC, right? So rest of the all the connections we can make it. So we can use the SLT or BODS or DXC or smart data access. Most of the clients, they're preferring only with the SLT. Because of it, we are getting a live data. Whenever a transaction happens, those transactions will be automatically available in the HANA system, right? And one more thing, the basic thing. So when we look at coming back to the high performance analytical appliance, so SAP came into the market in the year November 2011. So we called SAP HANA 1.0 is the version, and SP03 is the support pack. SAP keep on updating the support pack, and now the current support pack is SP11. We'll be looking whatever the new changes, we'll be working on SP11 support pack, right? And we are left out with the other stuff as well. SQL console, and the corner store in SAP HANA. So we'll be continuing our session on Monday, same time. Okay, so we'll be going further with the SQL console, columnar store, and we'll be going with the basic stuff. The difference between OLTP and OLAP, so that the introduction sessions will be completed.